All right, what if I told you that right now, while you're watching this video, there's a business owner that's at least making extra 50 grand a month simply because they have an AI assistant that's handling their customer inquiry. And the crazy part, most of them are not even tech experts. They're not even AI engineers. They're just regular business owners who basically figure out one simple truth: speed equals money. In 2025, the fastest responders is gonna win the deal. Period. But here's what's happening right now in every industry. While you're in meetings, driving to appointments, or handling, other clients, your competitors with AI assistants are capturing more potential market share or just deals in your industry in real time. So stay with me here in this video because I'm going to show you exactly how this works and why a serious business owner needs to understand the shift in the dynamic of this, especially with AI being incorporated in this space. All right, so to start this off, let me paint the picture of what's happening right now in every single business. So as you can see, the problem and the missing opportunity that I'm about to identify kind of go through. 9 a.m., you have a client meeting, let's say. 10:30 a.m., potential customer calls and it goes to voicemail because you are in this client meeting. 11 a.m., you're driving to an appointment. 12 p.m., another inquiry comes in through your website with no response because you're driving to your appointment. And then at 2 p.m., you're in another meeting. 3 p.m. because a third potential customer reaches out. Still no response because you're probably in this still meeting, whether it's running a little bit over an hour long in this case. Meanwhile, your competitors with an AI assistant, 10:30 a.m. an inquiry responds in 30 seconds. It's going to qualify them and book the appointment. 12 p.m. website visitor engages immediately. It's going to capture their details regarding that case. 3 p.m. is the inquiry. It's going to answer questions, send pricing, follow for scheduling, as you can see from right now. The key difference in this case is that by 5 p.m. you have missed 3 opportunities while your competitors have already booked 3 appointments. Now, this is just showing you the gap between implementing an AI assistant compared to either not having one, or if you have a VA that's doing it in this case. It's not bad, but it's just being able to just be more effective with your time, especially if you can have AI do this for you. Might as well do it compared to, it's not to neglect having a VA or an assistant, but it's just having a better infrastructure of a system in place that can do things a lot more effectively 24/7. That's not tired and that's less expensive compared to an assistant or VA, I would say. And at the end of the day, this isn't about real estate. This isn't about one industry. This is happening to every single business right now. Now we get into the market shift. So here's what most business owners basically don't realize. We're in the middle of a massive shift in customer expectations. So as you can see from this list right here, in 2019, customer expected a response within 24 hours. In 2021, customer expected a response within 4 hours. And now in 2025, and a little bit of 2024 as well too, customers expect response within at least 15 minutes of the inquiry. Now, mind you, when you engage with leads, especially responding within the 15-minute time frame, that's when the lead is at their highest engagement, which is best for being able to capture their intent and be able to see if you can actually book them an appointment, which is going to improve a lot of metrics in terms of, not only appointments being booked, but also show up rates as well too. Now, even an example of this case is that you can say a law firm, potential clients are calling 5 different attorneys. First one to get that case, is going to be the one that wins. Contractors, homeowners get quotes from multiple companies, so the fastest response is going to win the job in this case for them. Consultants, so prospects are reaching out to several experts, and the quickest to follow up is going to be the one that they're most likely going to have in contact. Another one is service providers, so customers comparing pricing options. Immediate response is going to capture trust. Even me personally, even when I was booking a podcast studio, I had 2 options I was choosing between. One podcast studio reached out, responded quick, instantly hopped on a call, talked to them, and I instantly sent over the payment just to book the podcast studio, compared to the other one where they didn't respond back in a couple hours. And because of that, a couple hour difference, that other business immediately got my money just because they were just a lot more efficient and a lot more quick with just responding back to me. Attention is everything, and people just want things faster and quicker at the end of the day. So being able to have a system in place where you can do that is going to allow you to have more deals. So the raw reality is that your experience doesn't matter. And if you're the second person, like what I mentioned from my own personal story of booking a podcast studio, if you're the second person, your user experience really doesn't matter. It's just someone else who basically is going to respond first, who's going to win in this case, especially in 2025. So the market has basically shifted from the best service wins to the fastest response is going to win. And it's not to say that we're not neglecting the best service. At the end of the day, a good service is a good service, but speed to lead is going to be the money maker in 2025. So having an AI assistant is going to instantly be able to change that trajectory of that. So now let's go into the solution framework, which I know what you all might be wondering is basically the AI assistant solution. Now, before I dive into this whole solution framework and what this whole kind of chaos mess is, let me actually go in and break down all these platforms so you can have a good high level overview of understanding how each of these are going to play into building an assistant and what people in the agency space are doing to go about building AI assistants, or even like when you see people create these crazy workflow automations and how they're building assistant AI agents and how we're in the space of AI agents. I'm going to show you a high level overview of how they're doing this and the components and the softwares and the big companies that go into play in terms of how they're building this out and to be able to really perform this crazy task and the task that I'm going to continue to mentioning in this video. So the first one is going to be an LLM. So these are companies like ChatGPT, Claude, Google Gemini, Grok, and even DeepSeek. So these are all just LLMs. These are literally platforms where, like I said, you can go into any one of these and they're basically all going to be very similar to each other, but they're all going to have different use cases in terms of their tokens. Some of them are good for copywriting. Some of them are very good for being deep and analytical. Some of them are very good for image generation. So they all have their own different use cases. But at the end of the day, they're all just LLMs. They're all just a language-based model, some sort of AI-based language model. ChatGPT is the most popular one that a lot of people use. But basically, the interface of all these platforms are very similar, and it's all going to be like this for this in this case. Right, that's just to give you an understanding of what LLM is, like a short variation of it. Next, we have is simply workflow automations, as you can see. Now, what these are especially if you have seen all these crazy YouTube videos where people are showing all these end-to-end automations that they're building out. These are basically workflow automations. So there's different platforms. End-to-end is one of them. Zapier is another one, and Make is another one. These are probably the three most popular workflow automation platforms. Zapier has been in the game for a long time, so it has a lot of different APIs. And what an API is basically being able to talk to other different software and connect them to each other. So an example of this is that say that you want to create an automation where every time someone fills out your inquiry on your website, let's say it's a Google form that you want this Google form to then send you an email, so that way you know that, hey, someone basically filled out your Google form. And then say that it sends you an email, and let's say that you want to send that email to your assistant to let them know that, hey, someone has filled out the Google form. Please go check out that inquiry that someone has filled out. Now, you can easily make an automation with this. And the reason why you're able to make an automation like this is because you have something what is called an API, which is connecting two different softwares and having them talk to each other. So that way they can communicate and send information back and forth in a way where it's easy and applicable for you. So that's why you have all these workflow automation platforms that can be able to talk to each other or have multiple software talk to each other to be able to send data and information to go through certain web flows, webhooks, and stuff like that to get basically a sort of outcome. That's where you essentially have all the automations going into play. Now, the cool part about this is that before AI, like a platform like Zapier, you could just you could just create the automation and it will do the workflow. But now with AI being embedded in place, especially with these LLM models, you can now add AI to these automation platforms and have it kind of sort of think for itself in this case. So before, automation used to be like do step 1, 2, 3. Now with AI being embedded in place, the AI can sort of kind of think for itself now. So now you have an automation that could say, okay, it's going to do 1, 2, and 3. Consider other options that are going to be a lot more smarter to then continue on implementing the instructions set in place. So you can now attach a lot of these AI features to these automations to then make it like a super automation in this case, this is how where you can go about building out all these assistants and connect multiple different tools to talk to each other, and then have AI powering the whole thing to then make decisive decisions, analyze documents, and do a whole bunch of other special stuff as well too. Another one as well is voice agents. So a couple platforms like Vappy, 11 Labs, which is very popular, and Synflow. These are just voice agent platforms where you can add voice features, and whether it's like creating like a voice AI assistant. On these platforms, you can go ahead and basically create the voice AI assistant itself, and then you can basically deploy it, and you can implement this in any sort of aspect that you want to, any sort of kind of realm that you want to kind of go about it. So you can actually attach like a software like 11 Labs to an automation now powered by an AI along with an automation platform to now create a voice assistant agent doing multiple things at the same time. So you can see how like everything is compounding to get very powerful in terms of the output of the tools that you can make and the possibilities that you can go about AI. A lot of people just think AI is just this and just talking to this all day, but in reality, there's a lot more use cases that you can use for it. And as you can see from this demonstration, there's a lot of ways you can go about building a lot of different other things or having AI do a lot of things for you because you have like an LLM, which is powering this automation, which is being able to make correct and decisive decision making actions in terms of analyzing certain documents or certain tasks, then being able to then execute the task with certain automations, connecting different tools set in place to transfer that data and that information to various different forms. On top of that, voice agents is just like a nice little add-on feature that you can implement, whether that's, like I said, creating a voice agent or being able to, have a voice agent that's going to pick up and answer any, incoming calls that are coming through to kind of, like I said, qualify the lead or fill out an inquiry or scrape the lead information from an inbound call. Last but not least, you basically have is the front end app builder. So app builders are going to be things like Riplet, Lovable, Bolt, and Base, just to kind of name the few. But these are app builder platforms. And what I mean by this is that you can literally build full-on websites, internal tools, anything that you can really think of, you can basically build it out on these platforms. So like I said, this is an example of a fully in-house sales tracker that I basically created for our in-house sales team. This is another one in terms of even creating some software as well too. So this is just an example just to show you that you can basically make anything with this app builder platform. And the cool part about this is that now that you have like a front end in terms of, let's say, like a software, or let's say that you're building an assistant, but you wanted to have like a front end in terms of how you use the interface, you can now attach this front end. So let's say that I built this sales tracker, right? I can now attach this front end to, let's say, an automation that's going to run behind the scenes that's going to do a whole bunch of things as well too. This automation is then powered by an AI that's analyzing everything and kind of making the decision making process in this case. If I wanted to add a voice feature, I can, but I don't have to. It's just there for other use cases. But as you can see, there's multiple different avenues and ways that AI is going about everything. So that was just a little bit of an example. Looks kind of crazy, I ain't gonna lie, but it's just like a high level overview of basically these are at least four of the most powerful platforms in terms of how people are using AI to do a lot of certain things. So that's just an example of how you can basically use and implement that. Another platform as well too, like I said, if you do want some sort of AI assistant, but for your social media inbox in this case, so whether you're using things like TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram, you use a platform called MiniChat, a very popular platform, but this helps in terms of you can implement sort of automations. So if you get a lot of inbound coming in from your Instagram or any social media platform, you can create like a sort of AI assistant that can answer text message, customer inquiries, general questions, and stuff like that in terms of having this embedded in place. And you can make a whole bunch of automations attached to this mini chat as well too, as you can see from this demonstration. So highly recommend using that if you get a lot of inbound leads from your own social media platform. It doesn't work for outbound, just for inbound in this case. So if you have a good personal brand, if you're an agency or consultant selling an info product, that could help a lot as well too. If you have very good content and a lot of people are always hitting your inbox, use a platform like this. It can definitely help a lot for the automation and just handling general inquiries without having someone in there. Now, let me go about explaining basically how you can implement an AI assistant solution. So how this is going to work is going to be in 4 different phases. First one is going to be just the instant response. So 0 to 60 seconds. With this, you can have answer phone calls with, customer greetings, respond to website inquiries immediately, handle social media messaging real time. Smart qualification, this is going to be ask the right questions to determine fit, identify budget and timeline, and then route hot leads immediately. Appointment scheduling, this is going to be for a book. It's basically helping you book prospects directly into your calendar, send confirmation automatically, reduce no shows with reminders as well too. Next would be the follow-up and management, which is going to be nurture leads not ready yet in terms of like a long-term nurture sequence. Engage cold prospects automatically and never let leads slip through and fall through the cracks by having this follow-up management system embedded in place. So the solution with this is that you basically have an AI system that works 24/7 and never takes a sick day and responds to every inquiry, like I said, in under 60 seconds with having this in place. Now, without an AI assistant, 10 inquiries per day, 3 missed deals due to timing. Let's say there's 7 responses, average is 4 hours later, 2 converts to appointments and 20% conversion rate. With an AI assistant in this case, let's say 10 inquiries come in per day. It's 0 miss because everything is working 24/7 in terms of availability. You have 10 immediate response, 4 convert to appointments, and your conversion rate basically doubles to 40% in terms of this dynamic and aspect. So literally at the end of the day, you basically have the same leads that came in, but you just doubled your conversion because you have an active 24 system embedded in place that's not operated by a human, that's very efficient in terms of doing what it needs to do every single day. And it's only going to get better over time because you're feeding all the data that you're adding onto it. Now, You might be thinking this sounds great for some businesses, but what about mine in this case? So yeah, let me go ahead and show you how this could basically work across different industries. So that's when we go to industry application, as you can see. So let's say for professional services, a potential client comes to you and says, I need help with XYZ. The AI system will be, I'm happy to help. What's your time for getting this resolved? A client will say, as soon as possible. AI assistance is perfect. I have an availability Tuesday at 2 p.m. or Wednesday at 10 a.m. for a consultation, which works better. Home services, let's say, is like another one. Homeowner says, I need a quote for a kitchen renovation. AI assistant can basically say, great, I'll need some details. What is the size of your kitchen and what is your budget range? Homeowner will go ahead and provide the details. The AI assistant, based on, will say something like, based on what you told me, I can have someone out for a free estimate tomorrow morning. Does 9 a.m. work for you? Last one is going to be consulting and coaching services. Prospect, let's say, comes in and says, I'm interested in your business coaching. The AI assistant can say, excellent. What's the biggest challenge you're facing in your business right now? Prospect will explain their situation. The AI assistant then can go about saying, that's exactly what we do to help you. I'd like to schedule a strategy call to show you how can we resolve this solution. Are you available this week? So as you can see, the pattern for every industry is literally all the same. It's immediate acknowledgement, it's qualifying questions, it's value demonstration, and it's calendar booking, confirmation, and follow-up. And the results with all this is that you basically get a higher response rate, better lead quality, more booked appointments, and an increased revenue, all with having basically an AI assistant do this for you efficiently, working 24/7 and getting better because it's feeding on the information that it's given, and it's just very quick, fast, and efficient. Now, probably might be wondering, well, how do I go about implementing this? So you probably might be thinking, most people do think that sounds very complicated, especially explaining everything and combining all these tools and integrating with each other. You might be saying like, hey, I'm not a tech person. I'm honestly not a tech person either, in terms of like code and stuff like that. A little bit, but not too much as what you would think. And the truth is, you really don't need to be. And I think that's honestly your advantage in that. What you just need is just a clear understanding of your sales process, list of common questions that, customers are always asking, your availability preferences, and 30-minute for initial setup. Now, what you don't need, like I said, is coding skills. You don't need no sort of technical background or any sort of like expensive equipment in this case or anything like that, or any sort of thing that needs like an overhaul full-time management for you in terms of implementing this. The AI assistant is basically going to learn your business, your tone, your process, and it's going to handle all this initial response and qualification. Then it's going to handle qualified prospects. Then it's going to hand over all the qualified prospects to you in your direct calendar. So you're not being replaced. You're just being amplified in everything that you do and just being a lot more efficient. So before, you basically kind of went from being reactive to responding to when you can or when your assistant can or whatever, to now just being very proactive and capturing every opportunity that comes along your pipeline. The business implementing this now are the ones that will dominate in the next 2 to 3 years, especially with AI being so new. It's only been around for 2 years and it's already accelerated so fast. And the adoption curve is just getting faster and faster, and it's only getting better. So the people who use this now will dominate in 2 to 3 years because they're ahead of the trend and where things are going to go. So to basically wrap this up, I've actually been helping other businesses implement AI systems within basically the past few years. And here's what I've learned. The business that moves first get the biggest advantage. So while your competitors are still checking your emails from yesterday, you could be booking appointments from leads that came in 5 minutes ago. So if you're ready to stop losing deals with past competitors, if you want to capture every opportunity that comes your way, and if you're serious about scaling your business without you working more hours or having to hire more people, click the link below to book a strategy call. I even have these systems embedded in my own business. That's just to show you that it's just a proof of what I'm saying is true, and I have seen that it makes things a lot more simplistic and a lot more simplified to how you run your operations. So like I said, if you're a real estate agent, click the link below to book a strategy call. We'll basically walk through your specific business and show you exactly how an AI would work for your market. And if it makes sense, we'll basically build the entire system for you. And this kind of opens up your eyes to what's possible with AI in your business. Hit the subscribe button. Basically, every week I'm going to be breaking down AI strategies and more so talking about the real estate market and implementing AI systems and stuff like that. So the question is whether AI is coming to your industry. It's already here, like I said before. The question is, will you be using it, or will you let your competitors be using it to basically take your customers at the end of the day? So until then, thank you for your time and take care.